Well, in 1814, we took a little trip, along with Colonel Jackson down the mighty Mississippi. We took a little bacon and we took a little beans, and we fought the bloody British in the town of New Orleans. We fired our guns and the British kept a-coming. There wasn't nigh as many as there were a while before. We fired once more and they began a-running down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico.
Thank you very much, Cliff. See, now you just broken the ice. And we get going and we start. Welcome to the construction
sweat has already started. The heartbeat is up.
No, come on. It's easy. And I've been telling people that I've done it once before, but I actually did a little review of all the shows and I was just skimming through it. And there's been more than once I've done it because other people didn't want to do it and they wanted me to join in. I think there's probably about 5 or 6 episodes that I've joined in with them singing.
Is that right?
So I've done my fair share of singing on this show.
I had to think of something that wasn't Guns N' Roses. I mean, I do a mean Axl, but I didn't know if it was appropriate.
You know, is it Axl 2023 or is it Axl?
Oh, it isn't this Axl. It's the original Axl.
It's kind of
everybody can do the new Axl.
It's hard. It's hard, but yeah, you got to listen to the originals, man. Yeah. Welcome to the show, Cliff. We're gonna have. I'm looking forward to this. We're gonna talk obviously shoes, Red Wing shoes. We're gonna talk a lot about you. I mean, okay. So you want to get right out of the gate and just tell people how many stores there are right now, what store you're from?
So I believe that there's 23 odd stores out west in Alberta and BC. In Ontario, we started opening stores at the beginning of April. Kitchener was first. They beat me by a week, bastards. And that's...
Did you know?
Well, we signed the lease. We signed the lease a year before them, but it turns out, just because it's me, the store property that we were on was like the last property in London since they zoned it in 1965 that didn't have retail zoning. It had always been a gym or a bank or something else. So we had to get the zoning changed coming out of the pandemic. That took forever. So we were supposed to open in August of 22, and but we didn't get zoning changed until the end of January. So anyways, so that meant that Kitchener squeaked in about 10 days before us. So
the point is that you both opened up.
But we're here.
You're here. Exactly. Right.
And the more stores, the better, really.
Why are there so many out west?
I don't really know. I don't really know why they started out there. I mean, it's a Minnesota brand, so
you're mid.
The first one is some. Actually, I was just talking to this with the Mississauga dealer. The first store was some. I guess it's still there. Some like small town BC store, and then that guy owns 4 stores now. 2 of them in Vancouver, I think.
So they just grew it.
Yeah, they just. I don't know. Maybe just the brand recognition or something. I don't know.
Something's working out west, and now it's starting to work here, which is about time that it's here, which is great.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a lot about that. We're going to talk about stores, but I want to do a real quick shout out to Builders and Brews. I'm wearing their tee. Funny enough, they're from out west. They're in Alberta there. Calgary. Yeah, Calgary. So thanks so much for that tee. Shout out to Abby from PS It's Clean. They clean it all. Residential, commercial, and construction cleaning in the GTA, Canada. They can be reached at 905-897-3664. Check them out on IG at PS It's Clean. Unleash your voice on the Construction Life podcast community. Are you passionate about the world of construction, trades, and all things building related? The Construction Life podcast wants to hear from you. Leave us a review, share your thoughts, insights, and experiences on your favorite podcast channel. Your review fuels our mission to create engaging and informative content for the construction community. Your feedback is a mortar that holds our podcast together. So share your thoughts, rate us, and let the construction community know why The Construction Life is your go-to podcast. Visit our website and check out the over 400 tradespeople and construction professionals listed on our site. Check out www.theconstructionlife.com for additional content, behind-the-scenes exclusives, and valuable resources. Dive deeper into the construction world with articles, guest profiles, and more. Follow us on social at TCL_The Construction Life. Subscribe to our video channels on YouTube and Rumble. Check out our link tree and find exclusive discounts for listeners. The link is in the IG bio. Join the conversation on Facebook, the Construction Life community. And then I want to let everybody know that we got Cliff Spooner here from Red Wing Shoes. London store, right? So you've got the main website, which is www.redwingshoes.com, but then your website is www.stores.redwingshoes.com/London-ON.
That's right.
That's your website to get a hold of you. And then your email, I guess there's 2, but there's your own personal email you want to share? No, we're not sharing that one. But the store's email is going to be rwss495@redwingshoes.com. Right. And you guys can find them on IG, which is so it's RWSS London. That's under IG, right? And then also on Facebook under the Red Wing shoe banner, London. That's right.
That's right.
That's it. Okay, now I got all that out of there. That's good.
Okay, good.
I got it all there. All right. Give me a little bit of history. I know off mic you were telling me a little bit about how old the business is. I love that it's still, technically speaking, mom and pop.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think last I heard they were $1 billion company now, but
Still big mom and pop.
yeah. So, but it is definitely a family owned business. I had a chance to go down there before we opened the store and see their head office and the plant and the tannery.
Impressive.
And it's really something to behold. I mean, we joked on the flight back that we don't know what they're going to do in 5 years because everybody that's working there is kind of in their 60s, been there for 40 years.
Oh wow!
They're hand sewing the stitching on the side of the boots. You know, I'm watching them do this. I'm thinking to myself, if I tried to do that, I'd sew my thumbs together or something. But they tear through them super fast. They're using really old-fashioned sewing machines. I can't remember the brand of sewing machines, but it's like a Singer or something, and with the stamp, made in whatever 1901 or something. Triple stitch sewing machines, and they have a team of engineers that are employed solely to keep these things running because they're long gone. Like there's no spare parts or anything. They have to machine everything when they replace it. So it's really old school. To my recollection, there was one piece of real technology in the plant, and that was when you take the hide, cow will get a bug bite or a scratch or whatever. Yeah. And a guy throws it up on this light curtain and circles any defects, and then the computer figures out how to cut the optimal size and shape of the hide.
Based on those little defects.
Based on those little light circles that he's put on the hide. But beyond that, it's pretty old-fashioned.
Did you ask why they didn't, I guess, innovate? What works?
I think it's go with what works. I think there's a certain amount of brand loyalty. The little differences between one boot and the next boot, especially on the Heritage line, which is their fashion line now. I'm told that out west, where it's a big. There are a lot of aficionados out west. If you've got 5 size 9 Irish Iron Rangers in the back room, some of those guys will ask you to take them all out of the box, and they'll choose the one that they want because they're all just slightly different. And I don't know if that's why
it comes from.
Yeah, I mean it's there's a lot of loyalty there for the brand, and a lot of the styles that they have now in the fashion brand go back to like the 30s, and so.
Why did you get into this? Because I mean, you didn't start in retail.
No. I was in logistics and transportation for the better part of 30 years, and a friend of mine and I both worked for the same company, and we both left within a couple of weeks of each other. I took a job here in Toronto at Cisco Foods, running the Cisco Foods warehouse, and he opened a Red Wing store in Lethbridge, Alberta, and as he was going through the process of opening the store, talking to the banks, talking to Red Wing, working out his initial order, working with the real estate agent, all this kind of stuff, we would talk daily or every other day. It just became more and more intriguing to me what he was doing, and I'm sure a lot of your viewers' audience can relate to wanting to go out on their own. Yeah. So, some people do it right away because that's what they're brought up with, and some people learn to get a job, and it becomes a little bit of a mystery how to start a business. And I was kind of in that second category. So as I was watching him go through the process, it became simpler and simpler to me. And then it so happened that my wife and I took a trip to Banff, and he had either just opened or was just about to open. I think he had just opened. And we stopped by a Red Wing shoe store in South Calgary. We did the foot scan. We got I bought myself my first pair of Iron Rangers. And when I went back to Ontario, I'd just taken this job at Cisco. So he sent me a pair of their work shoes and the insole that the machine recommended. And within a couple of weeks, I was swapping the insole out between all of my shoes, and I wasn't wearing anything other than my work shoes everywhere because they were so comfortable. And that's when I really thought, okay, this is a brand that we can sell. Yeah. And there was nothing in Ontario at that point. It was a totally virgin market. So I thought this is going to sell.
And that was at the beginning of the pandemic?
No, I was right. That was I think he opened in let me think. I think he opened in 21, fall of 21. Okay. And I think we did the Banff trip, I think that winter. So kind of in that end of 21 range.
And then you got in, and then your store officially opened.
Right. So then I went through it just so happens the country manager for Red Wing lives in London, Ontario. So he hooked me up with a consultant that hooked me up with Red Wing, and then we had a couple of meetings, and you know, I had an operations background, and they liked that kind of thing, inventory management and all that kind of stuff. So, it just took off from there. We found a site. My son and I actually drove around London one day and found a site. Called David in London and said, we think we got a site, and it worked out, and there we are.
And how's it been so far, just getting the new store up and running and people?
It's been really great. Like, I've really enjoyed it. Way more than getting up and going to work in the morning for somebody else. But, I mean, I've had a lot to learn. Neither my son, who's 24, Daniel, neither he nor I had any retail experience. And, you know, I owned a pair of Vans and a pair of gym shoes when we got into the business. So we didn't know much about shoes, really. He had a pair of Jordans and whatever, a pair of flip-flops. Not so much anymore. Now our whole house smells like a leather factory, but yeah, so a lot of learning about how to, you know, guess what inventory to bring in, how much you should bring in, you know, a lot of learning on how to deal with customers, you know, all the stuff that you would expect. But also, I think the most valuable lessons that we've learned is, you know, I worked in transportation and warehousing. I kind of understood what the needs were of drivers, delivery drivers, and just long haul drivers and whatever. Warehousemen, I kind of understood that because I had done procurement for the PPE for those folks.
8-hour,
for
10-hour shift, and yeah.
But when the concrete guy came in or the framer came in, it took us 2 or 3 months to kind of know, oh, iron worker, you want that. You know, framer, you want that. Welder, you'll want that sort of thing. So that's been interesting.
What are the interesting things that, I mean, I want to speak specifically about tradespeople. Because obviously, if they know who you are and they know of you, because I'm pretty sure that there's a big segment of the tradespeople community across Canada, probably in the U.S., they know about Red Wing, right? So when they walk in, what's the main reason why they're walking in and looking for that pair of shoe?
Well, the two most common comments are, I've been wearing these for years, but I've had to travel to get them, or my dad wears them, or my boss wears them and he saw you had a store and sent me here. So before we opened the store, the real question was, how much brand recognition would there be? Is this going to be like a slow simmer, or is there going to be a massive pent-up demand?
And it's not been like that, right?
No, it was a massive pent-up demand early on. There is some seasonality to it. So, you know, April and May was really busy, and then June started to kind of taper off. July was sort of dead. But as we got into late August, September, the dealers told me weather turns, guys that got holes in their boots, they start to leak water. So you'll pray for rainy days. That's
they're the most stubborn individuals. Just accept it. Just
wear them. And you know what else is strange is that we seem to get a lot of sales once the layoffs come, which seems counterintuitive. But when the city lays off for the year, like the road,
they get ready for the next season.
They go buy boots. So I don't know if it's because they have time. I've never really asked, but it seems to be a phenomenon.
I mean, the thing is that I've seen it on the shows talking to so many people that you got a certain segment of tradespeople that will not spend the money for a good pair of whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Or even a good pair of pants, a good pair of, like a jacket. Things that will make you comfortable as a human being on a job site.
The extras, I find, can be that way. The boots, it's a pretty easy sell. And everybody I see, most of the people I see, I mean, you get a small percentage of people that Googled work boots near me and they end up in my store. Most of them are coming there specifically because either they've heard the reputation, or somebody has sent them, or they've been wearing them for years. And those guys recognize that, like, you know, your mattress and your work boots, basically, right? Like, if you can be comfortable in those two things, you're pretty set. It's the other things that they're not aware of that, like, of course, we're happy to sell them. But the truth is, the insole, the socks, again, if you're on your feet 12 hours a day, like $30 for a pair of socks sounds like a lot, but if your feet aren't sweaty and stinky when you get home, and they feel great in your boots,
they're breathing your feet, they're not all sweaty,
wicking the moisture away from your feet.
It's like all these little things. There was things that I used to do. I used to have 2 pairs. I'd always switch them up at lunch.
Yeah.
because your foot got so used to it from the very beginning, and then all of a sudden you switch it up and you'd have like a fresh start again.
Yeah, it's kind of true. I used to play rep football, and I used to do the same thing. I used to take a shower at halftime.
I'm just saying, I'm not trying to promote and say, go buy 2 pair of Red Wing shoes here. I'm just saying that it's going to make your feet that much happier. Yeah. So when you're working on the job site, you're going to feel that much better. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and the stock, I mean, it's the same for every boot, but the footbed that comes in a boot is a cushion. Sometimes they're shaped like insoles, but they're not they don't provide any support. So they get hot. You've been walking them in all day. They start to, they're made out of rubber, so they start to get a little bit more pliable. A lot of guys step heavy on their heels, their feet start getting sore, their knees start getting sore, their hips getting sore. We don't upsell insoles. We love selling them, but we don't upsell. I told my son and my staff early on, we do not want to be do you want fries with that guy?
Yeah.
So what we do is we put an insole in one, and we don't put one in the other when they're trying on a pair of boots, and when we just let them walk around. And I think at last count, it was like 75% of the people that come into the store buy the insole.
The insole.
And we laugh because we almost feel guilty about the fact that about half of them a week later come back in and buy a second pair, which is exactly what happened with me. My buddy sent me the insoles and the shoes from out west. You start moving them from shoe to shoe because they're so comfortable. You get fed up of it. Now I'm calling them going, can you send me another set of those insoles? So
how expensive are they?
About 75, 80 bucks.
Okay. Yeah.
So coming out of industry, I asked, can you put these through your benefits? And the answer was, never asked. So I called my contacts at some of the bigger benefits companies, Sun Life, Manulife, Green Shield, Blue Cross, and said, is there any reason why you couldn't submit these as an orthotic? And one of the companies said, well, we need a doctor's note, but otherwise, yes. So then we started.
So when do you get your medical license?
Well, I don't.
Just write the script and just give it to them.
I don't want to be examining feet either. But I've seen plenty of them in the first 6 months. Every shape and size and defect, and it's amazing.
But okay, so what makes their shoe? What's so specific about it that people love about it?
Okay, so first
I know they have how many pairs are there? Like there's so many.
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head. If I had to guess, I'd say there's probably 50 CSA styles, something like that. Heritage, I would say that there's probably 40-ish heritage styles, and the Irish Setter hunting boots, there's probably 30 styles or something like that.
What are the 4 that you have right here right now?
Okay, so from my left to right, the Super Sole 2.0. I think it's been around for a couple of decades. What makes it special is the sole. That's the name. It's got like a 2-layered sole. It looks like it's going to wear out really fast. It really doesn't. Most people, they're replacing the sole because it's falling off before the sole actually wears out.
And you should replace the sole.
And you can. Yeah. They're all resolable. All the leather boots at Red Wings, virtually all the leather boots that Red Wing sells are resolable. And we have a cobbler in town that, like, every Red Wing store has a certified cobbler that they can send the shoes to.
Wow. For
repair. So unbelievably comfortable on concrete. It's pretty good all around, but on concrete in particular, it's fantastic.
Okay.
Red Wing prides itself on all of their boots have great slip resistance, but the walking around on concrete. When I was in training in Minnesota, they encouraged us to try on all the different boots just to get a feel for the differences in how they fit, right? And so they make Super Sole is their biggest seller. They sell in every version: 8-inch, 6-inch, slip-on, waterproof, not waterproof, insulated, not insulated, black, brown, like everything. I've got a pair in my garage right now I wear to ride my motorcycle on because they're soft toes, they're not safety toes. They're so comfortable to walk around on pavement. I wore them to Sturgis. They're fantastic. And then I got the 6-inch, of course. The wing shooter, for those iron workers, I don't think I'm telling tales out of school, but for those iron workers that will wear a safety toe, the wing shooter is kind of the go-to boot.
Yeah.
If they come in, they'll go to this boot, the 875 in the work version. If they come in the front door and they go look for this shoe, I know right away they're an iron worker. It's like iron worker. And if they're a little younger iron worker, then they'll probably go for this one because it's actually CSA approved.
Yep.
This one has been around since the dawn of time. I think it was originally called the Red Wing Irish Setter. until they changed the name in 2007 or something. But they have the flatter sole.
Yep.
This one's totally flat. This one's a little bit
because there's something of a standard on that. That's why, right? So it probably has a shield on it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these are the most popular shoes combined that we sell. This is the Iron Ranger. It was developed in the 30s for iron miners. It has the original safety toe. It's a piece of hard leather over the front. They're all triple stitched. This one has the heel shield, the toe shield. Speed hooks was a sort of innovative thing at that point, and it's just become a fantastically popular boot for.
But that one doesn't come CSA.
No, it's just a fashion boot now. I've had a couple of people buy them for work.
Hey, architects and builders, do you want to stand out from your competition? Fraser Wood Siding has your back. Fraser Wood Siding is a leader in pre-finished wood siding. They manufacture beautiful pre-finished wood siding using only the highest quality PEFC certified Canadian softwood. Fraser Wood Siding is available in 17 profiles and unlimited colors, supplied by the global leader in paints, Sherwin-Williams. Whether your design taste is classic, contemporary, conservative, or bold, they've got you covered. They'll gladly match the color of any paint manufacturer and send you a sample on an actual piece of Fraser Wood Siding in just a few days. Visit their website, www.fraserwoodsiding.com, and reach out about your upcoming projects to benefit from their industry-leading lead times. Fraser Wood Siding, get inspired.
That's their business. But
they would get worn in nicely, and they would get some nice creases in there, but I don't think they would last or survive a long time on the job site.
They're pretty durable. So the one thing about Red Wing boots is that they're all made. So the leather's all raised in Nebraska. They only use steer hides because it's thicker and tougher than cow hides. And so I have a pair. The pair that I bought in Banff was this. I actually bought the wrong size, it turns out. But so now I wear them to kick around the store. And I'm not hard on them, like I'm not on a construction site, but I'm kicking ladders and boxes and whatever else around. Wear them through the wet grass and that kind of stuff, and I could shine them up and put them back on the shelf, and they'd look pretty good after a couple of years. So that's kind of like a smattering. Those are the most well-known shoes that Red Wing sells, I think. And then they've got some innovative stuff that's come out. They've got a new one called the Max Bond, which is a synthetic fiber with a, you know what I mean when I say a BOA system?
Yeah, the BOA tie. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm noticing a lot of the trade boots that are coming out on the market. They're finally coming out with the BOA. I'm a huge fan of it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to put on, easy to take out.
Yeah, and a lot of guys that are going in and out of houses love it. But we have one called the Max Bond. It's a synthetic material, so it doesn't dry out. So guys that are working in concrete, Lafarge plants, and this kind of stuff, they love it because you hose it off at the end of the night, and they don't have to work with conditioning.
Has that launched already? They already have it.
Yeah, it's about in Canada. It's maybe a month old or something like that. We just started getting them. We're usually about a year behind the U.S. on all these because, from what I understand, to certify a boot ASTM, you basically take a boot style, they approve it, you go into production. With the CSA, every size, every width has to be individual.
It takes a generation.
So they basically run production and then introduce it CSA.
I mean, I guess it's a good and a bad thing because they're testing it thoroughly. But I picture the guy holding the jelly donut while he's doing the training or the testing, and then it takes a little while to get it done. I don't pretend
to be a product development guy.
I don't know, but
I understand
it should be faster.
They put a Kevlar sleeve on the bottom of it, so it's puncture resistant through the bottom, and it's CSA.
Which makes a lot of sense. I know that on the phone when we were talking, Cliff, you were mentioning that you guys offer the feature of someone coming in and digitally scanning your foot.
Yeah. So the other thing about Red Wing shoes is that we offer multiple widths in every size.
Which is
massive.
Massive.
Yeah.
Because listen, I've got wide feet. I'm basically one step away from that monkey that's kind of arching on the scale of evolution, right? So I know a lot of contractors, a lot of tradespeople are like that. We have wide feet.
Yeah.
That's how we're just designed.
And you know what's funny is the number of, again, coming out of not retail or footwear, the number of guys, including my son, who come in and say, I'm a 12. And then you scan them and they're a 10.5 triple wide. But they've been shoving their foot in a 12 because they can't get their foot in a 10.5.
So what have they been squeezing the foot and then it's been moving forward to fit the 12? Is that what's been going on?
Their foot is too wide to get into a 10.5 standard. So they just go up to 11.
So they go as wide as triple wide or even wider?
Quadruple. So they have
quadruple wide.
Depending on the style. So the way the styles work out is a D is standard, E, double E, triple E, and then H. So like Super Sole comes in D, E, triple E. Burnside, for example, comes in D, double E, and H. So there's some overlap there.
So when you see certain trades come in and I guess short and stocky, there's a good chance that maybe that person...
It is so random.
Okay.
You get like a short, stocky guy with like skis. Yeah, we've had guys come in. We had one guy come in. He looked like a pretty athletic, like basketball player, 6'5". He had size 15 A's. It's like, okay, we don't sell that. That's not a thing. But for the most part, so the volumetric scanner, it's made by a company called Volumental. Takes a 3D image of your foot.
Both feet. You're doing both feet.
Yep.
Because everybody's right, left, they're different.
Oh, it's rare to get somebody with the same size feet. And all of the volume data is in every boot. So every boot that has a different last has slightly different volume features. So maybe it's long and wide enough, but this particular boot's not tall enough for the bridge of your foot, for example, right? And so we have a scanner. It takes about 3 minutes. You stand on the scanner. It takes 4,000 images of your feet in about 5 seconds. Then you walk across a pad that measures your gait. Are you hard on your heels? Are you hard on your toes? Or is your arch flexing properly? And then it's, you've got all the boots in the system, and you can look up every boot, and it'll say, okay, this one looks like it'll work well because you've got, a wide heel and it's a slip-on boot, and this one will fit your foot well, or this one's your heel's thin and this boot has a wide heel, so that you might get some slippage in there, beware, sort of thing. And we'll sell them. Like, that's a good starting point for sure. It really helps us get an idea for especially width. But people wear their boots differently too. So you get the guy that comes in, he's got his, like me, I crank my boots right up to the top all the time. We get a lot of guys that buy an 8-inch boot and they only tie up the first 4 holes.
I always leave the last one.
Yeah, so that's going to be slightly different. A lot of guys that like drive machinery or in and out of machinery, they'll do that. They'll leave the last couple of speed hooks open so that the boot will pivot on their foot or whatever.
Makes sense. So
it's totally preference. We do get the odd guy that, you measure them and he comes out, a 10.5. So you get him a 10.5 wide or whatever. And he's like too tight. You end up selling him at 12. But
after the scan,
they're 1 in 100 sort of thing. Yeah. And then tell you how bad the scanner is. But you can see the guys that could jump off the counter and land in his boots. So they're obviously too big, but each to his own, right?
Do they just want to, like, mostly, I guess, tradespeople, they just want to swim in their boot? They just want to have it really comfortable?
It's very, very personal. Like, they all have a different preference. Some guys will say, I can feel a seam because they have really sensitive foot or something. I don't know. That nobody else has ever mentioned.
I've never.
Okay. Or we had a guy in the other day that had his 2 big toes were curved in. So he was like 11, and he ended up leaving in a 14 because the only way you could fit his toe in there was to get him like a long, wide boot.
But I guess is there more concern if you've got a wider foot that you're going to wear out the sides of the boot, or they've designed it?
Not really.
They design it that way, right?
Because they're actual full grain leather. When I fit myself now, having done it for 7 or 8 months, in the heritage boots, obviously I don't fit myself for work boots very often, but with the leather boots in general, I would say I would tend to go down in size and let the leather stretch around my feet, especially guys like iron workers and stuff, because then if they get a shoe that's too wide to begin with and then the leather softens, now it's a little sloppy on their feet, and if they need good feel in their feet for stability, then... But yeah, some guys, like especially machine operators and truck drivers, will generally wear a looser foot. You can see as soon as they walk in. And we started looking because guys will come in, they'll like the idea of a slip-on. But if they walk in the store and they've got their laces cranked, right away they're going to try it and hate it. But you let them try it. You can just predict, you're not going to like slip-ons because they don't feel snug.
From my short amount of medical history, I guess, so to speak, if you're having physical problems, when I talk about like physical problems, it's like I hear tradespeople talk about my knees are sore, my lower back are sore, is sore, my shoulders are sore, whatever. It all stems from the shoes.
Yeah.
Like I try to explain to them, I was going, listen, you're not wearing the right footwear, or you're wearing it incorrectly. You might even be wearing the wrong size or what have you. So it's amazing that Red Wing has this wide range to fit almost every Neanderthal out there, that it will fit it in there perfectly.
What's interesting to me too in hindsight is working in warehousing, and I see the number of people that we see, that even guys will come in and they'll say, I've been wearing these things for 12 years. I just need a 24-12 in size 10.5. And I'll say to them, well, tell you what, why don't we take the 5 minutes and scan you and have a look, right? And
is there a cost clip?
No,
it's part of it.
It's all part of it. And it's just fitting the foot like you would the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
But I think to myself that in warehousing, I assume it's the same on construction sites. The number one cause of injuries was slips, trips, and falls.
100%.
Well, if I take my 6-year-old and I put him in a shoe that's a size too big and tell him to run down the street,
he's going to do all three of those.
Guarantee he's going to go for a flip, right?
Yeah.
And you wonder how many of these guys that have size 10.5 wide feet are in 12s and then trip at work or whatever, right? Or misjudge something and whatever. So, yeah, I think there's some real value in getting it fitted properly. Plus, like I said, it's gonna be more comfortable.
When you got an active occupation, I see sometimes the forklift operators when they're driving around, when I go to suppliers and pick up material, and they've got that one lace that's just up, just that one ring, that's all it is, and then they're just having that hard click, and you can see that they're swimming in the boots. But they figure I'm sitting in a forklift for the whole day. I'm like, yeah, but occasionally you got to pop out, and I've seen it before where they'll almost trip.
Yeah,
it's almost like you're watching a car crash about to happen when all you got to do is just lace it up properly and have the proper footwear at that point.
And maybe that guy has a wide foot, and instead of getting a wide boot, he's got a wildly too long boot. So, it's just, he looks like he's swimming in it because it doesn't fit.
What about the argument of cost? Because that's another argument in construction. It's like, I don't want to spend that much money, which I don't, first of all, think that this is a lot of money for that saving grace of your knees, your lower back. I don't think so. I think people realize that there's something to having the right footwear to your body, cause and effect. Yeah. So cost.
I don't know. I don't have the statistics at my fingertips. All I can say is that going into the business, I was told it was a premium brand. It was expensive. Some people are uncomfortable with the price. So I went into a shoe factory one day to pick up some Birkenstock. Sadly, Red Wing does not sell sandals. I'm begging them to sell sandals and cowboy boots, but they don't. They don't. So if I had a nickel for every person that asked me for sandals,
they're always going in. Really?
They want.
That's all they want.
I've told the Red Wing guys, and listen, every dealer is a product development guy. Everybody knows what's going to sell, right?
Are you giving them sketches?
No, but we had easy 50 people over the summer say, "Do you guys sell sandals?" And no. Do you have a stacked leather like go to the bar cowboy boot? No. So it makes me sad. But
that's for another show.
Yeah. So I go to shoe factory. I go to Work Authority, whatever, just to kind of spy. And it seems like every work boot's $350 now. Like you're not.
It's
you
a standard
go to Canadian
now.
Tire and get a $150 boot. Nobody does that.
You'll get some stores now. They're doing, I guess, the knockoffs.
Yeah.
And just for being a little cheaper.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why it's a little cheaper, and there's a reason why it's a knockoff.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't have what you actually need in your footwear.
It's not resolable. So cobblers charge $150, $200 to resole them. I've had a couple of guys come in with a 14 versus a 12, which is, insulated versus non-insulated. And I'll say to them, well, if you've got a 14, get the 12, it's insulated, and go spend $200 and get this one resoled. Now you've got 2 seasons worth of boots. So that's an option. So anyways, back to the cost thing. So if the average one is $325, $350, and our average
you guys are not a premium
$400, it's not
you guys are medium.
Out of reach. I mean, we do have a $490 boot, nubuck leather, Vibram deep lug sole.
There's a reason why it's expensive.
Blah blah blah. Right?
Yeah,
it's a fantastic boot if you want to spend $500. And some guys, there's a strange. You probably know this. There's a strange keeping up with the Joneses thing going on work sites with safety wear, right? So, and most of our clients that come in, not all of them, but a lot of them come in and they're wearing a Bass Pro hat and a Carhartt shirt, and they're coming in to buy a premium product. So another $50 for a pair of shoes that's got a reputation. And then you get like the oil sands guys. They'll grab a pair before they head back out west. Like they're just like addicts. Like that's all they wear is the Super Sole. Like,
but also if you take care of your foot, like listen, I've got footwear because I've got a great relationship with a cobbler, and I've got footwear that's probably from the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I still have it, because it fits me comfortably.
And it's yours now.
It's mine, right? So that's just done. All you got to do is resole.
That's the beauty of leather boots, is they fit your feet, right?
Yeah.
So, and
they've grown with you.
You can get them repaired, and they last longer because they're full grain. I'm not a product development guy, but I've heard that there's techniques where they take a piece of leather and they swell it, and then they shave it, and they get 2 pieces of leather out of it, and then they bond it with something else, and then that's what you get. But this is right off of the steer's back. You can see how thick that leather is. It's like it's invincible. To punch a hole in it, like virtually. And
you're going to have to do some serious working to wear it in.
Yeah.
Right.
And we get a lot of comments. Again, I don't know the competition that well because I wasn't a footwear professional before, but we do get comments about this, what I'm wearing is a great boot. It's really comfortable. I like it. It's 4 or 5 months and I got to replace it. So we will get, like the lighter duty electricians and plumbers, they'll get 4 or 5 years out of it. The heavy construction guys are getting a full year or more out of it. We also, like for the boots that don't have the rubber toe cap on the end, we can we'll put a product called Tough Toe on the end, which is like an enamel that protects the toe from wearing through.
So Red Wing has a whole kind of accessory, additional things that you can do.
Yeah, and we'll help you take care of them, so you can come in every couple of months. We'll put leather cream on them and replace the laces and put.
But are the guys like that? Are they religious about that? Realizing that
not so much for us yet because we're a new store. But the friend that opened a year prior to me,
he's getting
Friday. He gets a lot of guys come in and drop off their boots, and they're all picking them up Sunday afternoon. So
or buy the 2 pairs, wear them half days.
Or they buy them 2 pairs.
And when one needs to go down, you get it serviced, and then
in our first week we had a giant guy, had size 15 feet, and he had 4 pairs of Super Soles. I guess because he found a pair that fit, and that was that.
You live by it.
So he dropped off 2 to go to the cobbler to get resold. He wanted to see how that worked out. He had another pair in his garage, so I guess he had 3. He had another pair in the garage that he was waiting to see how the first 2 worked out. And he bought a pair while he was in the store.
What was the time period that he was waiting?
He was his 1 pair were stamped 2016. So he had a pair that were, I don't know what the other 2 were, but one of the pairs was a 2016. So he'd had it for 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
But okay, I want to get into a little bit of the warranties. So if something does fail.
So the Red Wing branded boots have a full year manufacturing warranty, which covers waterproofing, stitching, like whatever, soles coming away, glues coming off, the whatever. That's a no-brainer.
Normal wear and tear.
Normal wear and tear. There's so we have a comfort guarantee for a month. So you can buy a boot from us for whatever reason. It's fitted wrong. You just don't like the way the 8 inches rubbing on your ankle or whatever. No questions asked. You can just drop by and get a refund or an exchange.
I was always curious. What do you guys do with that boot when it gets returned?
It gets donated.
Oh.
So our rep here in Ontario, I think he's from Stony Creek. I think.
Okay.
And he collects all the returns, and he donates them to some charity that I don't know the name of that sends them to Africa.
That's nice.
So that people aren't fishing them out of the garbage and trying to return them for warranty. But, so anyway, so they all get reused sort of thing. We've gotten much, much better in the first 7 months. So when we first started the store, we were probably getting upwards of 10% returns. And in October,
for comfort reasons?
Mostly, well, yeah. I mean, yeah, there wasn't a lot of defects.
Were they swapping it out for a different style?
Most of them were exchanges.
Okay.
Many new Red Wing customers, I think, too. So they were sometimes they were not used to leather, the way real leather reacts on your foot. So they would insist on getting a boot that was comfortable out of the box, and they're pretty comfortable out of the box, but we encourage them to get them just a little bit snug around the balls of your feet because they will stretch and soften a little bit.
Yeah.
And then they would be too big, or they would try a new style and it didn't quite work for them. So, and we were new at it, right? Like trying to understand, we knew out of a textbook how you're supposed to fit the guy's foot, but we weren't picking up on the cues as much. Now we're like well under 3%. Like it's not common. And I would say at this point,
are you a homeowner who's looking to add value to your home, improve your curb appeal, and stand out from your neighbors? Fraser Wood Siding is a leader in pre-finished wood siding, manufacturing beautiful pre-finished wood siding using high-quality Canadian softwood. Do you have a specific color that you love? No problem. Fraser Wood Siding can match that color and send it to you to review in the comfort of your own home on an actual piece of Fraser Wood Siding. With their 17 profiles and industry-leading warranty, Fraser Wood Siding has you covered. Visit their website, www.fraserwoodsiding.com, and check out their products online. You can even request a sample directly from the website. Simply click the Request a Sample link and fill in your information, and your sample will arrive in just a few days. Fraser Wood Siding, get inspired.
Yeah, I would say it's at best 50-50. Like and the defects, we're so fast and loose with the warranties that we call a lot of things defects that are
questionable.
Could be abuse, could be.
Yeah, that's what I'm just trying. Especially if you got tradespeople on a certain job site, certain things happen. That's
Also
where I was going with the warranty, right? Like, I guess you have
the odd guy that wants to like buy a boot and then get his receipt and then turn it back in and collect the cash, sort of thing. So
it's not Costco.
Yeah,
but I mean, like, I guess you can just educate different tradespeople and what they do. They're on the job site. Like if you're constantly bombarding it with concrete or something like that, all kinds of or glues added, like adhesives or anything like that, just be aware of it and just wipe it clean and try to keep it, maintain it. And then when you start seeing it fall apart, or there's a chance of it falling apart, bring it in and get a tune-up on it, so to speak, right?
Well, a lot of them too have the boots that they had toe caps on them, and you can see that there's somewhere on the toe cap. It's hard to judge whether or not they're actually beating the end of their shoe up. So we'll tell them, like, you don't have to get the tough toe done today if you're not sure, but if you start to see wear in the toe, try and bring it to us as soon as you can, and we'll armor that thing up.
But you're also asking them, what exactly do you do for a living?
Exactly.
Like the kind of gauge of where...
The scanner, actually, we'll ask anyway, but the scanner has like a bunch of filters in it. So it will start with, do you work outside? Primarily, what kind of work do you do? And there's like a list of farming, factory, plumbing, electrician, whatever, that kind of stuff. And then and that will narrow the what boots it's recommending. Like I said, after 7 months, we've kind of got an idea of what everybody's going to want. Truck driver's going to want this, electrician's going to want that.
Not like I don't see many painters getting boots to begin with. But if paint was to would paint wouldn't do anything to good quality leather.
But there is there's another boot that we have that has like a more smoother finish, almost like this. That's a CSA.
So it'd be easier to clean,
wipe. A little easier to clean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of different trades.
And these ones actually, the super soles that are brown apparently have some chemical in the tanning agent that's ammonia resistant, so it's good for farms. And the black ones have some kind of bloodborne pathogen thing in it. So I'm not sure exactly who hospital needs 8-inch safety boots, but in Canada.
Well, they had a request for it at some point in the 100+ years that they've been doing it.
Maybe also farmers, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it is, right? But I'm just trying to think of what else for the tradespeople that they're thinking about. They should be getting into a proper footwear.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it has to do, the sole makes a big difference. Like, what are you doing? Like, are you working on, like, roofers, for example, will like the flat sole.
The unfortunately with the roofers, they go for comfort, and they'll usually go more for running shoes and not realizing that if they get a proper work boot and it's comfortable on their foot, they can work better on a steeped roof or even working hot roofs, right?
Weight, too.
Yeah.
Like, we have a style called Exolite, and it's like if a super sole is 4.5 pounds a pair, they're like 3, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you put them on your feet, it feels enormously different. Yeah,
I think gone are the days of that clunky. I mean, without me like Kodiak, that classic 80s rock and roll guy in high school, that Kodiak walking, dump, like that. That's done.
That's funny, eh? Back in the I remember that when I was a kid, that it was cool to wear work boots to school.
Then I think they converted over to the Timberlands or whatever.
That's like a microcosm of our society where
the evolution.
It used to be cool to wear work boots to school, and now you wear Birkenstocks with socks. It's like, yeah, that's about right.
I don't think any high schoolers are wearing work boots nowadays.
No, probably not.
Well, they are if they're on the job site.
And most of them have composite toes now. The shoes are actually aluminum, but most of the work boots are composite toes now. Only the super soles and very few other styles have steel toes anymore.
And now, what about weather? Obviously, this is Canada.
Yeah,
Minnesota gets really extreme weather too.
Yes.
But I mean, like, how cold can we get that we start looking at problems if there's any problems at all? Like, you're getting as low as what, -30 or something?
Yeah, I mean, the 400 grams. So the 2414 is the non-insulated version of the 2412, which has 400 grams of insulation in it.
Okay.
Our hunting boots, we have one hunting boot that's 1,000 grams, which is an extreme. It's called Elk Tracker.
Sauna.
Yeah, it's comfortable, but it's a lot of insulation. Most of them are kind of in the 200 to 600 range. So I feel like 400 grams, especially if you're wearing a decent sock, is going to be a lot. And it's a waterproof Gore-Tex lined boot, so your feet aren't going to get wet. And again, if you get wool socks, you're wicking the moisture away from your feet. It's going to make a big difference too.
You're going to be toasty. I mean, I've had boots before where they're designed for a certain temperature and they were way too warm. Yeah. And then now that starts pushing you on the other extreme of the gauge, where it's like it's way too warm and now it's uncomfortable because it's way too warm.
You know what's interesting to me though is that the 2412, 2414 thing is top of mind because of the change in weather for me, and because this is our first season through the cold spell. And I was curious to find out how many guys would actually want an insulated boot, because most guys are getting one boot allowance. So they want to buy an insulated boot for the whole year. And as it's turned out, since the beginning of October, we've sold almost exactly the same number of insulated boots as non-insulated boots, which I wouldn't have predicted. I kind of thought we wouldn't sell a lot of
from separate people, or the same person buying two boots, or no?
No, I mean, like, they're buying one or the other.
I think if you're getting a nice pair of socks and then you're getting an all-year boot.
What I heard in the summer was, of course, you weren't selling insulated boots in the summer. So.
No.
But people would say, yeah, I'll just wear a sock. I was like, yeah, that seems reasonable, right? Like, do you really want an insulated boot in July? Probably not. And if you're getting one boot allowance and you don't want to spend any extra money on your feet, then that makes sense. But then we got to October, and like within two pairs, we were selling exact. And the other thing that's interesting, and I don't know if this is just because of what was out in the market before at like Mr. Safety Shoe.
Yeah.
Because they would carry a couple of Red Wing brand styles. Dover Duds had some. Work Authority had a couple of pairs. I don't know if maybe that's what they were ordering, and so that's what got into the market, because a lot of the guys that are coming in that have been wearing them for a long time get the insulated ones. They've always been, and some of them, many of them, didn't even know they were insulated.
I find just me personally, because I don't get it. I never get cold, right? So it's just I don't need that. I just need a comfortable boot.
I've never really had to work. Like, I did a bit of snow plowing and stuff like that. But
I've been in the extreme weather where you're outside, but if you're wearing the right gear,
yeah,
footwear, pants and jacket, layers,
yeah,
and you're staying at a constant temperature, you'll be very, very comfortable, and now you got nothing to complain about.
Yeah.
But I guess certain guys, they want to find something to complain about, so maybe that's the reason why.
I was just really surprised to see that there was that much parity between the two styles. In fact, I wasn't even carrying the same amount of inventory of both, because I thought the non-insulated ones are going to wildly outsell the insulated ones. But I was wrong. They're selling almost neck and neck. So
in your eyes, I guess, what's the hardest trade putting the most durability on boots? What's the trade that's putting the least amount of durability on boots? And what is the longevity that you're seeing on those two extremes?
Roofers, like HVAC guys, the guys that spend a lot of time on the roof, on asphalt shingles. Not so much roofers as such, but guys,
people that work on the roof.
Working on the roof. They go through the soles pretty quickly. So they're on a wing shooter sort of thing. I'm seeing the soles last in 6 months ish. Like, I'm just starting to see the guys that bought in April start turning up and saying,
You're seeing the whole sole?
No, just it's mostly the heel, like right here, it starts to wear down a little bit.
Yeah, right? Of course.
Honestly, of the Red Wing boots, like the regular heeled boots, I haven't even really seen the same guys coming back yet. That's only been 7 months. So the other dealers in the country,
warm, It's like summer, and then you get the asphalt.
Yeah, I would have thought. Like, I mean, I've seen a couple come back that are pretty banged up, but I haven't seen a lot. The miner, like the guys are going up. There seems to be a lot of guys going up to work on new mines up north right now. They're building gold mines and stuff, like, and from all trades, like millwrights, like everything. And I've had a couple of those guys come back, and their boots are pretty banged up, but they're not ruined. They just need to be conditioned and new laces and that kind of stuff.
That's where the maintenance comes in, where you got to take a look at it and just
the guys that are climbing the poles, like the linemen. Yeah, they can be. They wear the middle of the sole out pretty quickly.
Just the position of their foot, and when they're going,
it's funny because the rest of the boot looks brand new, and then right there, and it's not even worn through or anything. But they'll bring them in just to get the leather condition, and when I'm working on the boot, I can see what this guy does for a living. But
I guess it's mostly stress on the soles.
Yeah,
that's where you're seeing.
What
about concrete guys, and then having concrete pour on it? Asphalt guys.
Most of the guys that have been doing it for a while know to take care of the leather. Like, they've figured that out for some time. So they're washing them off at the end of the day, and everybody's got a thing of mink oil. So I've never, before I got in this business, I'd never even heard the term mink oil. Never. But everybody seems to have a vat of mink oil at home. So, or Dubbin, which to this day I don't know what Dubbin is.
And it just protects it a bit.
I guess it's a leather protector.
It just protects it more, right? So basically, it won't let any materials penetrate it.
Yeah. It just keeps the leather moist so it doesn't crack. Some guys, I did have one guy that was like wildly overdoing it, and he actually rotted the stitching out of it. Like, he rotted the stitching around the base of the boot out. You could see like the leather
he was just what is it, dunking it or something in there?
He must have been doing it like every day after work. Like, seriously, it must have been every day after work, because the leather was like wet and slippery.
Wouldn't that eventually, I guess, penetrate?
We gave him another pair of boots and said, "Listen,
don't put so much."
Not so much. But he was, he was convinced he needed to do it regularly.
But I mean, I always encourage every trade, and I joke about the painters, but because they're always wearing Crocs, right? Crocs and shark pants.
And sneakers.
And sneakers, yeah, that's what so they think that's comfort, but they don't realize that you walking around the job site, up and down ladders, construction stairs, up and down scaffolds, and then you're on all kinds of little situations that if you're wearing the right footwear, you're going to have a much better day. Yeah. Simple as that.
For sure. I think the insole, especially the insoles for those guys, like, I'm an insole addict at this point. I've got them in.
What are you looking for when you're considering an insole?
Well, the scanner gives us a pretty good
Which
idea.
one to go with?
Yeah, so it measures a bunch of things. It measures like arch height, arch flex, whether or not you're hard on your heel or hard on your toe. It actually measures, I forgot the term off the top of my head, but like every boot will sort of bend in one spot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, on the old, I think it's called Braddock device, there was actually a slider on the side that nobody ever used. Not on me anyway. And you're supposed to put that beside the ball of your foot, and that tells you where your arch actually, like where your foot actually bends. And so my son is a perfect example. He's a 10.5 wearing a 12 shoe because he's a double wide. And but his arch flexes as if his foot is a 12. So it's actually as important to get that right as it is to get the length of the shoe right. Otherwise, I mean, you start hearing about guys that are 40, 50 years old. They got plantar fasciitis and Achilles tendonitis and everything else, right? And I'm not saying cause and effect either way, but it will measure that as well. And then it will recommend both a shoe size based on a pair of shoes. So it might say you're a 12D in this, but in the Burner XP, you're a 12.5 double wide.
Yeah.
Or this one's insulated, so you should go a half or a width bigger. And then it will tell, we've got, I think, 7 off-the-shelf insoles in 4 different sizes. And it will usually recommend 2 of those And then it will either recommend, we have a custom moldable one, which is like you put it in your oven for 5 minutes, heat it up and then put it in your boot and it molds to your foot. Or with that machine, Superfeet, you can actually send the scan to Superfeet and they'll 3D print you your own insole. It's more expensive, but it's made out of carbon fiber. Like it's got a carbon fiber base and it's made for your foot sort of thing. We have not sold very many of those. It's almost unnecessary. Just most of the time, as soon as you put the recommended insole in the shoe and don't say anything, just let them walk around the store, they'll say, this is the one you put the insole in, isn't it? Damn, that's different. And you can see guys thinking, I want to spend another $80, but they struggle not to.
I know, but it's just like, do you want to be comfortable? Do you want to have pain?
Every damn day.
I think plantar fasciitis, whatever it's called, it's just everyone's always trying to figure out how to solve that problem. And I'm like, there's ways of figuring it out. Other than the medical steroid surgery, all those solutions, right? What does Red Wing recommend for flat feet? Because there's a lot of guys and girls in construction that have flat feet.
Yeah, that's again, the insole is as much as we can do. That's it's hard not to try and upsell people, just because, you know, on a when you're selling a good boot like we are, there's enough margin that we don't have to sell you the footbed to make money. But I hand on heart have these things in my motocross boots, my golf shoes, my sneakers. Like I've become an absolute addict because I have Achilles tendonitis. If I don't wear an insole for a day, the next morning I can already feel it starting to tighten up again. And within a couple of days, it'll be really sore. And is
that from the riding?
I don't know what I honestly, I think I played football until I was 33, and I think I was a running back, and I think just the hard cuts probably wrecked my ankles. But anyways, but yeah, like I mean, the Heritage boots have come
a little close.
The Heritage boots have a leather insole on a cork welt, and they will, as you break them in, they'll mold themselves to your feet. So with the Heritage boots, I don't find I need them, nor is there even really space in most of them to put an insole in. But on all of my other shoes, including my motocross boots, which, you know, when I go to the track in the morning, I put them on for first practice. I loosen them off while I'm waiting for the first race. I wait 4 hours until the second race. But you're running around watching other people's races and stuff. The next day, my ankles will be sore if I'm not wearing the insoles in my motocross boots. So it's like, it's so hard not to try and convince people that seriously you want to buy the insoles without coming off like, do you want fries? Do you want a large drink? Do you want a shake? Like, you know what I mean?
But I've never seen anybody wear a pair of Red Wing where, you have like that step foot, that one guy or girl that's walking and they've almost worn that boot or shoe out to the point where the whole shoe is moving to the side.
Yeah.
Except for the sole. So they're almost living cantilevered over the sole.
Yep. Or vice versa. You see the sole totally worn out like here.
Yeah.
And the rest
like
of the
what's going on there with is that just the way they walk?
Well, I walk like that. If I walk on the scanner, because it gives you a 3D image, it's actually pretty cool.
So you'll see it.
You can see as they're walking that, like, it's almost like
they're putting the
infrared thing. Yeah. Like it looks like that. It's not infrared, but it looks like it's infrared, and you can see them walking like that. And that's physical, like that. I can't fix that. All I can fix is that when they get to the point where they're putting weight on their foot, it's just pounds per square inch, right? Like if you're walking on your heels, it's whatever it is, 4 inches and 200 pounds. And if you spread that weight across the entire foot, you've got all that extra, and it's massively different, the number of square inches that you're talking about. So that makes a ton of difference in terms of fatigue. And my issue would be, I can walk all day long, but I can't stand for some reason. If I stand in one spot for a long time, my back starts to seize up. My son's the other way around. He's fine to stand, but if he starts walking, then the backs of his knees start to hurt. He's only 24.
The whole younger generation is fine to stand.
Yeah, but the insoles of, like, he was wearing Jordans, and his Jordans are sitting beside the patio door, with the back all folded down because he's slipping them on to go out for a smoke. He's just destroyed them, and he never wears them anymore. He wears leather boots. He's 24 years old, and he wears nothing but leather boots all the time.
Because he's seen the comfort attached.
He just thinks they're way more comfortable.
That's all it is, right?
They're also free. Ish.
The decision process in selecting your siding and colors can be challenging, which is why Fraser Wood Siding is here to make the process as simple as possible. Their beautiful pre-finished wood siding is made using high-quality PEFC certified Canadian softwood, and it's available in 17 profiles in unlimited colors. Supplied by the global leader in paints, Sherwin-Williams. With distribution all over Canada, USA, and Europe, Fraser Wood Siding can help you achieve your desired look no matter the style. Visit their website, www.fraserwoodsiding.com, and check out their products online. You can even request a sample directly from the website. Simply click the Request a Sample link and fill in your information, and your sample will arrive in just a few days. Fraser Wood Siding, get inspired. So are there any interesting colors that Red Wing has, or?
Yeah,
it's the go-to ones, right? Like,
yeah. So I've got these ones in that color, which I use as my kick around the store shoes. Although that is by far the most popular color. They sell a matching belt. They've got that. They got probably 6 different styles that are in. It's called Copper Rough and Tough. This is called Oro Legacy.
Yeah,
because that was the original color. But I have like the other thing they do is they'll have.
That's a nice color.
Yeah, rough out. This is my second pair because I bought a first pair and then rode it on my motorcycle and got clutch rubber all over the top of it. So now they're.
But that's character.
Yeah, so the cobbler dyed them gray for me. But this is actually, they flipped the hide inside out, so that's not suede. You could rub that with a piece of sandpaper all the way to a hole, and it would look the same. It wouldn't smooth out.
It's actually a nice boot.
But I really like them. They're not actually our biggest seller. I'm not sure that the lighting for the shelf really does them a lot of justice.
Hang on, come closer.
But they're fantastic. I really like those. And then there's some,
well, they're reminiscent of the classic tan-colored construction boot, right?
Yeah.
Is what they're kind of like.
Yeah. And there's some more coming. There's a bunch of styles that are coming back. So during the pandemic, when Minnesota shut down for months, so Red Wing got way behind on production and demand was huge.
That must have been a weird feeling, yeah.
Well, I didn't live through it. I got right on the end of it. So I was in, I was like probably one of the first stores that avoided it, like news stores. My buddy in Lethbridge, he had like 6 styles to sell for 2 years because they were only making 2 styles because that's all they could afford.
But just the manufacturing process, just a ghost town there, huh?
Well, yeah, and I understand that a bunch of people retired there because they were getting kind of that age anyway, and then they shut down for forever. So anyways, but now that they've kind of ramped up production again, we started seeing like they've got this in an alpine green, which I've got because my motorcycle's green and I needed that, and that was my first pair of.
It's more like the hat, right?
Yeah, it's more like military olive green-ish.
Oh, okay.
They're not quite olive green, but kind of that.
Okay.
And let's see what else they got. They got the women's Mock and Iron Ranger comes in this thing called Mocha. It's kind of a cream. I don't know how to describe it. Maybe cream, almost fleshy colored. Which on the shelf,
like
a lot
a
of these
nude tone
boots
or something like a.
Yeah, it's like I said, they call it Mocha.
Okay.
So I don't know how else to describe it other than say it's kind of a cream color, I guess. And it's one of the ones, as a new store owner, there were a lot of styles that I saw on the shelf that I thought, not sure I'm crazy about that. And then you saw people wear them, and they look way better on than they look on the shelf. And that women's Mocha, they've got an Iron Ranger and a Mock Toe, and they really look nice, worn. They've got an olive, so the rough out that I'm wearing, the women have a Mock Toe that's in like that, but it's like a slightly olive color. And again, it's actually a nice color sitting on the shelf, but it looks really sharp when it's on.
Probably like your boot that you're wearing right now, but just with a hint of green.
Just a hint of olive green in it.
Yeah, which actually be really nice.
Yeah. They got so there's a lot of stuff that's going on. There's an Iron Ranger that's just come back. I guess they had it before. It's funny for me because I haven't been in the industry that long. A lot of the dealers that have been around saw these styles before. So I'll get the Red Wing newsletter will come out and say, here's a bunch of new styles that are coming out. I'll be like, okay, that's cool. But if it's an old style that they're bringing back, there's no announcement. It just shows up on like when you're trying to reorder your boots. You're surprised by it, right?
Yeah.
So they have an Iron Ranger that has the
flat
wedge sole. Yeah.
Okay.
And I looked at it and I went, I'm not sure about that. And then we had like right away, there's some guys out there that are just on the website every day. And as soon as they see a new color,
they just flock to it.
Yeah. So I had a guy call and he said, hey, listen, I want to order one of those. Have you got the amber, which is brown, amber Iron Ranger with the wedge sole on it? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I went online and lo and behold, there it was. So we ordered them a pair.
Has Red Wing done much testing on running with the shoes? With the boots?
No, not that I'm aware of. We do have a brand called Vask. So Irish Setter is a well-known brand in hunting space. Like everybody knows who Irish Setter is, but nobody knows that Irish Setter is a Red Wing brand. So one of the things that
was that by design?
No,
no.
I think in the U.S. in particular, people knew to go to Red Wing shoes to get Irish Setters, but not so much in Canada. But we have a lot of guys that come in and buy CSA boots. They're on opposite sides of the store, and they'll cash out, and as they're walking out of the store, they'll go, you've got Irish Setter?
Yeah.
Right. So one of our marketing challenges that we've identified is, okay, we need to draw that connection for people because there's a huge amount of demand for it. It's just people are driving to Toronto and coming to Cabela's or whatever. But we have another brand called Vask, and they're a hiking and outdoors type brand. So they got some really hardcore backpacking and hiking boots. One of the more popular styles, the St. Elias, is getting a remodel over the winter, but it's been around for a long time. And my buddy from Lethbridge, if you went to his Instagram page, you can see him. He wore them to climb Kilimanjaro in the spring of this year.
Wow!
So they're like, it's funny because there's a lot of innovation and technology that goes into the Vast brand for hiking, and at this point, at this stage, it's mainly people will come in and go, oh, that's pretty, and they'll buy it. But there's no, or they're buying them to walk their dog, which is fine. But
you carry them at your store?
Yeah. So we have a full selection. And again, there's a whole bunch of new ones.
I don't think it's a waste if you're walking your dog with them, but
no, it's not a waste. We have some like light hikers for sure.
Yeah.
But they'll see like they like that color and they like whatever, and they'll buy that one. It's like, yeah, you could scale them out with that thing. But
are those the three brands that are attached to like?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's Red Wing. Well, Red Wing Heritage is Red Wing, but Vask and Irish Setter.
Irish Setter and Vask.
Yeah.
And then kids footwear or
only Vask. Vask has some kids hikers. I think mine and one other kid in Ontario has a pair right now.
What's the tradesperson supposed to do if the son or daughter wants to come to the job site and get them in? Or kids are growing up faster and bigger.
Sneaking past the Ministry of Labor, I guess, because I know that they're supposed to be there to begin with.
Oh, they could be there. Just they got to look like little people or something like that. So I'll get them a hard hat and a pair of Red Wing. That's it. Just lots of socks.
Yeah,
that'll work.
Yeah, we're really excited. I think next year it'll be a big opportunity in the hunt space.
Now that the word is getting out, right?
Yeah, the hunters are starting to wander by, and then their three buddies coming next week, and that sort of thing. So we've gotten same with the work boots. You'll get a guy from Hydro One come in and buy a pair of work boots, and then 2 days later, 4 of his buddies will come in, sort of thing. So
word gets out.
The big challenge is just people shifting their paradigm to realize that there are stores that you can get them. So they're looking for the store instead of the boot.
Because, I mean, a lot of it has to do, you said it earlier, where not every style is going to fit your foot the same size that you would find perfectly for one.
Yeah.
So you find your perfect work boot, it might not be the same size for your comfort boot, right?
Yeah,
at that
exactly.
point, right?
For
so
sure.
That'll be, I totally understand that. Laces.
Yeah.
They last as long as they last.
So so they call, what's on most of these boots, they call iron laces, and we give away free laces. So you break a lace, you just come back, we give you another lace.
That's nice.
We don't give away very many. Like, it's not common. In fact, when people bring their boots for reconditioning, I'll frequently put new laces in
anyway,
but I don't really have to. There's nothing wrong with the old laces. It's just just kind of a goodwill thing. But we were talking earlier about how much we've learned about the trades. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, we've had a rash of welders coming in. Like, all of a sudden, every other person that comes in.
On laces problem or on boot?
No. Just, I mean, we had like Hydro One right away. Right as soon as we opened, we got a whole bunch of Hydro One guys. then there was like a period of about 3 weeks where all of a sudden, I don't know if they were being recalled to the job site or what the deal was, but all of a sudden we got like a whole bunch of oil patch guys in a span of 3 weeks. Well, just in the last 2 or 3 weeks, we just keep getting welders, like constantly getting welders. And one of the things that never occurred to me was until now was that the welders want leather laces because they burn their laces. They also want, and this is something that I never paid attention to, like on the Super Sole, it's a full leather tongue. Whereas most of them, and actually I've never even really inspected them, but like on the wing shooter, for example, it's a leather tongue with a waterproof membrane. Well, the welders don't want the waterproof membrane because it gets burned, right? And then it burns through and then they get whatever, right? So, yeah, I had somebody come in the other day and say, hey, listen, I'm looking for a welding boot, blah, 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 and it's got to have a full leather tongue. And I was like, oh, what? So now I'm running around my store going, well, which ones have a full leather tongue? I've never thought to look. And then they wanted to buy leather laces to go with them. So now I loaded up on some leather laces because it's like, oh, okay, well, this is not just a fashion thing. It's a
practical, it's functional.
It's a practical thing.
The reconditioning, you guys, that's free?
It's free.
It's free as well, too.
Yeah.
So you're wearing your boots, you're enjoying them, you're comfortable, you're not having foot problems, you're not having knee problems, back problems, any kind of problems. And then when they're getting a little tattered and whatever, you bring them in and
bring them in. We'll clean them up.
Little slip and shine, and that's it. Done.
Some mink oil or leather cream or whatever Red Wing recommends for that leather.
Do we wait? Or no?
A couple times I've done it while people have waited, but really, we like to wash them with the foam cleaner, let them dry, then put the mink oil on or whatever, let it dry, and then we put the leather. So it's kind of an overnight thing.
Buy 2 pairs, really. So then you can have the other one.
Listen, I'm down with anybody who wants to buy 2.
It just kind of makes sense. Once you find your right pair and you buy 2, buy the one, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Get past that first month or whatever, and then now you're enjoying it. Buy a second one right away, and then when you need to, bring the first one in for reconditioning, and then wear the second one. Keep on doing that.
That makes sense to me.
In my opinion, it'll last longer.
RSP.
Just saying, it makes sense to me. Anything else you want to share, Cliff? There's quite a gambit, but I guess the best thing to do is walk into your store, or go online first, find out what you are interested in, and then you're carrying all the styles, right? Or
just about. So I think we have everything but one style of CSA. There's a style called King Toe that's for people with, I call them duck feet, thin heels and wide toes, and they need extra space in the toe box. And there's an insulated version, and I haven't brought it in yet because I wasn't convinced.
How quickly can you get them if you need to get them?
So the dealer network is pretty close in Canada. If you're desperate to get something fast, then you can put the bat signal out to the messenger group that we have, and somebody will ship you a pair, and it'll take 2 days. If you can wait, then we place our orders every Monday, and a week and a half later, they're usually on the ship. Like we've got them in stock. And it's a bit of a learning curve for us because we're in a new market, so we've got a lot of shoes that nobody's interested in. We didn't have enough shoes that the people, so we've kind of worked out what's selling in that market. And there's a couple of, I think the Vask, once it catches on, is going to be a big seller for us. I know that as soon as people start associating Red Wing and Irish Setter, we're going to sell a lot of hunting boots.
People are going to start realizing that.
And we've also got a business-to-business portal, so I guess that's probably worth mentioning before we're done. Is the end of this month we've got a business-to-business portal coming, wherein a company can give us an employee list with their work boot anniversary and their allowance, and if they like, a list of their approved boots. And then Bob comes in to get his boots. He pays his portion of the boot. We take whatever is covered by the company, and we just invoice the company at the end of the month. And that means that the employee doesn't have to walk around with a receipt. He doesn't have to submit the receipt. The HR person or the safety manager, whoever, doesn't have to submit it for an expense. They just, AP can just pay the expense sort of thing, and on terms. And so that will make things a lot easier. And so we've been a little bit hesitant to go out into the market and start talking to big companies about getting on board because we knew that this was coming. We wanted to put our best foot forward, so we've been a little bit, we've got some accounts. We've got some pretty high-profile accounts now, but once we've got that portal at the end of the month, we'll be going hard in the paint on going to the factories and the workshops and the trade associations and saying, okay, we've got
Makes
this
sense.
functionality now. It'll make life a lot
Would you
easier.
be open to smaller, I guess, construction companies, maybe
Yeah.
20 employees or less,
Yeah.
kind of approaching you guys and going, listen, we want to outfit the whole crew. We want everybody to
Yeah.
kind of look a certain
100%.
way.
And we've
You
done
guys
it.
would totally be open to kind of negotiating with them and saying, this is what we can offer you guys.
Yep, we've got
Yeah.
a few of those already, and it's working out pretty well. And we've even got one of the owners' sons is kind of doing a test run on a couple of different styles of boots, because they do like it's like a company that employs a bunch of tradesmen and they assign them to jobs or whatever. And so he's kind of supervising, and he's testing a couple of different styles and seeing what works, and then that will go on the recommended list for them. They can buy whatever they want, but he'll have a recommended list for his employees. And I think they're 40 people or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense because now you can get literally boots on the ground testing, and then you can take that feedback
We've
back.
done that a couple of times. We had the leather, we've got leather work gloves. And we had an iron worker come in one day and say, yeah, I don't know if how well it'll hold up, blah, blah, blah. So we took his name and number and threw him a pair of gloves and said, give us a call in a couple of weeks, tell us how it's working out. Because I'd like to be able to look people in the eye and say,
tell them
they're good, they're bad,
Yeah.
they'll last, they won't last, whatever, right? And he had a pretty, hard work environment and he was going through gloves all the time. So we got some feedback, and now we know what to tell people.
Accessory wise, I mean, I know you mentioned the belt, the matching belt, and gloves. What else you guys carry? Yeah, obviously
Yeah,
socks.
So we got the socks. The socks is a big one. I think we have not been great at, because we're not salespeople really, but we were asked the other day by Red Wing. We were doing well on accessory sales, but if you could improve on one, what would it be? And I said, well, socks. We've been doing much better selling socks lately, but they're so good. I mean, it's almost as much as insoles. Makes such a big difference. Like I used to have the Tommy Hilfigers from Costco, and about a month ago I tossed them all. Now I've got a drawer full of work socks, and all the cotton socks that we were shipped with our opening order, we're just basically going through them, and as soon as we're out, we'll never order them again. Yeah, that's a big one. And then we've got work belts, which actually surprisingly are in demand.
Yeah.
Like, again, first few months that we were open, we didn't even really mention them. But when you mention them, a lot of guys walking around need new belts, and a good leather belt will last a long time. So
Yes.
they're excited about that.
Technically, it should last your lifetime,
Yeah.
unless your waistline changes over a certain period of time. That's a different story.
Yeah, I'm a little bitter about the fact that it seems like all our belts, either I'm fatter than I thought I was, or the belts are. See, when my wife goes to the store, now I'm going to get myself in trouble. When my wife goes to the store, you see, somebody who is clearly not a size 5,
Yeah.
comfortably in a size 5 dress, and you're like, Whereas it seems the opposite with our belts. Like, I'm a size 34. I can't get into anything shorter than a size 38 belt. So it's like
A 34 belt won't fit you?
No. It's not even, and
So
everybody. It's
not
not just me. It's like every
It's
customer.
not a
I
real.
say,
It's not a real 34.
yeah, go up two sizes because it's not going to fit you. But they're really good. They're full grain leather again, so they're fantastic. The belt I'm wearing, I've had for 2 years. I could almost just hang it back up on the shelf.
And they match them to all the colors of the boots?
Pretty close. All the heritage boots have something that's very close. Like
Wow.
we've got a copper rough and tough belt. We've got an Oro belt. We've got like my shoes. There's a belt for that. There's a black belt. The only one that we really don't have, but we have something that's close. We actually have a bison hide belt. That's like the briar oil slick color, which is like a maroon sort of color. It's actually a really nice belt. And then we sell a lot of toques and caps and T-shirts. Like just a lot of them.
Everybody wants it. Everybody.
And strangely enough, that's the most popular color. Like
the green one?
Yeah,
Totally.
I'm shocked. I
Why?
guess it's the Bass Pro thing.
It's a nice color.
Well, I don't wear ball caps.
I
like,
don't
almost
wear them
ever.
either, but
So the one I have is charcoal gray, right? And I'm pretty conservative generally. So the green one, I was like, who would wear that? And then we can't keep them in stock. I ended up ordering like 3 boxes of them.
well, it's nice that it's not a trucker's cap. Like I'm
I
not
don't know
a
what that
fan
means.
of like the straight brim.
Oh,
I just don't. I've never. Been, I know like all the cool kids wear those. That's what they do, and they keep the sticker on it as well, which
wouldn't know.
that doesn't make any
never a
sense to
cool
me.
kid.
I've got a cap that's probably about 30 years old, and it's all weathered and worn out, and
Yeah.
I'm like, this is what I like. I sometimes purposely throw the other cap, so even the Construction Life cap that I have, I throw it into the wash. So I can keep on wearing it out.
Actually, I lied. Socks is not the worst. The worst accessory, or the accessory that we have sold the fewest of, is we actually have fire retardant long underwear. And I'm like,
Red Wing makes fire retardant.
yeah. And it's like, how does that come up in a conversation? So, are you concerned about burning your ass? Because if you are, here we go.
Shorts, like boxer briefs, or
No, they're full length long underwear, and a top, like a top, and yeah.
And you guys don't sell much of it because they probably don't know that you guys have it.
I don't know how to sell it. I should probably ask Red Wing. Like, how does that come up in conversation?
Well, you know what? Certain electricians, right?
We did have a welder. I think it was a welder.
I would say
mentioned it in conversation. I didn't
Yeah.
try to sell them anything, but they mentioned that they need fire retardant, like something. I can't remember, and it occurred to me, well, maybe that's the
But
end.
there's an expiration date on the fire retardant stuff, right? So that's
Yeah,
but it's
I
interesting
think it's
that
mostly
they
be a
make them and they
decoration in
get
my
it
store
out.
for a while.
Really, huh?
Probably. I don't think we sold one set, but I mean,
You're not digitally
if
scanning
your
the
viewers
guy
are
for that
looking
one.
for fire retardant long underwear,
Then they have it,
I'm
right?
here. We got it. We got you covered.
What's it retail for?
I haven't sold enough to even be able to
To,
tell you.
to
It's
pay
100.
attention to
As
it.
memory serves, it was like for a full set. I feel like it was close to $200.
Yeah, I believe it. I totally believe it.
Yeah,
I think we've covered it quite a bit.
yeah. I think that's my voice is getting sore. So
No, it's all good, right? So if anybody wants to reach out, or they're in your neck of the woods, or they can actually email you and just say if they're going to be in your neck of the woods.
yeah, for sure.
Then they could definitely walk in, get digitally scanned, and then find out exactly what pair they should be looking at, what size, style.
Yep.
That'll work for them, and what trade. And obviously, anybody who's listening, tell them what trade you work.
Yeah, and
Website.
it's worth mentioning they are growing the brand in the province. There's currently a store in Mississauga. There's a store in Kitchener. Early in the spring, they'll be building one in South Milton. We're trying to get one built in Windsor. About a quarter of our sales probably come from Windsor and Sarnia. Like drive all the way to London to buy the brands.
There's no point in putting one in Toronto.
Oh yeah.
There's no point.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Would there be a point?
Oh yeah.
Where would you put it in Toronto?
Well, right now, as far last I checked, there was North York, Etobicoke, Markham, Pickering. There's I believe that there's a plan to have one in the fall in Barrie. Like, they have some ambitious plans around Ontario. It's an untapped market, entirely untapped.
Totally
and
untapped market.
The brand is huge.
I got to do the 10 questions with you.
Sure.
Cliff Spooner's here, Red Wing Shoes. The website, his website is www.stores.redwingshoes.com/London-ON. His email at the store is rwss495@redwingshoes.com. And on Instagram, it's RWSS London. And on Facebook, it's Red Wing Shoes London. But also, you can also reach out Red Wing at www.redwingshoes.com. You ready?
Yeah.
What everyday sound brings you joy?
My kids' voices.
What's your favorite beverage?
Probably Macallan 15 Solera Scotch.
Least favorite tool?
Least favorite tool. Interesting.
Now, tools, it doesn't have to be a tool. Someone recently said the PM. So
No, I'm probably going to say, oh God, I don't know. Okay, I don't even know what you call it, but the thing that I put the safety wire on my dirt bike parts. It's like a pair of pliers with I don't even know what you call it, but that thing is a pain in the ass to use.
what turns you on creatively?
I like wildlife photography.
What word or concept do you find overused these days?
Word or concept? What not?
What not?
Yeah. This sort of, offensive schemes or whatnot. In that kind of context, yeah.
What's your favorite curse word?
Fuck.
What's your favorite vehicle? Anything in the world?
Anything in the world. I don't know if it counts as a vehicle. I guess airplanes. I'm a pilot, so yeah.
If you move from point A to B, that's a vehicle.
Yeah. Okay. Pilot, airplanes.
Airplanes. What do you miss from your childhood?
Football.
If you could master a skill outside of your own expertise, what would it be?
Guitar.
Guitar. Do you play at all?
A little bit. I'm terrible.
Last question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at those pearly gates?
The cheerleaders are over there.
Cliff, man, thanks so much for being on the show and shedding some light on Red Wing Shoes.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm so glad that you. This is funny how it all worked out. I got to give a shout out to Roger.
Yeah, totally,
sure. Roger Lawson from Techno Metal Post. He's the one that kind of just planted this, and then we got talking through Rebecca, yourself, and here you are on the show. And we'll see what we can do from it.
All right, perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
We're out of here.